Our next speaker is another First Fortnight ambassador. He's a DJ on 2FM, a presenter on RT The Voice. You might see him on TG Cahir. He's a great advocate for Gaeilge, for our native language. You might see him involved with the Ceol music project. Recently, I was listening to a show, I heard Ed Sheeran perform one of his songs, Os Gaeilge, which is a fantastic thing to do in terms of seeing the engagement and the reach of one of the world's biggest pop stars, reaching a new audience and showing that Irish can be alive and well and spreading and thriving in that way. I've also only realized recently that he's been a professional dancer who's supported some of the world's biggest stars, including Rihanna and the Pussycat Dolls, and I'm really hoping that he's going to dance his way onto the stage. Please welcome Eoghan McDermott. And I'm not joking about the dancing.
Hello, everybody. I actually thought Aisling was due to stand up, speak next. And so my thoughts have been, excuse me, somewhat thrown on account of what Chris said and Rory mentioned going off script. And now I feel like my whole, where I was going with everything is going to go off script on account of what Chris said. But I'll recalibrate in my head and go for what I was going to say. And hopefully it'll make sense in the middle somewhere. Chris mentioned that everything in his life is going very well and the people he cares about and loves are all healthy, and I suppose that's kind of how we benchmark success in our personal lives. And I'm in my 30s now, but when I was 26, I was given this amazing opportunity, and the best metaphor I have for it is, imagine there's a kid who gets a football and he's really good at keepy-uppies, and that's what he's good at. And he gets a little bit cocky and he's like, I am exceptionally good at keepy-uppies. And then one day Alex Ferguson walks by and says, hey kid, you're amazing at keepy-uppies. You're now the new striker for Manchester United. That was basically what happened to me. I was working for a small radio station in Dublin, just doing a little weekend show. And I'd been a dancer. I did a degree in UCD, but I was teaching dance at the time and making some money off it. And it was around the time like Justin Timberlake had released his first solo album. He had this video where it was these three guys dancing in a car park, and it was masculine and it was cool. And I said, oh my God, I want to do that. That's incredible. And so I went to LA and got a crap part-time job, and I was taking dance classes, and then I came home and I finished my degree and I moved to London for a while. I was taking more classes, and I auditioned for this school in New York, a really prestigious dance school called Broadway Dance Center, and I got in and I went to my parents like, Mom, Dad, I know I've done a politics degree and I was going to be a teacher or an educator, but fuck that, I'm going to be a dancer in New York. At which point I imagine most parents would go, oh, jeez. But they were amazing, and they said, oh, son, if you want to go be a dancer in New York, go be a dancer in New York, and they paid for my school, and everybody knows America is not the cheapest place to be educated in any sphere. But they funded me and they supported me, and I came home and I was doing different things. And just randomly was this pop artist called Chris Brown, who is probably now more known for hitting Rihanna in the face than his music. But at the time, he was the biggest thing in the world. And I was choreographing this singer. We got asked to go on tour with Chris Brown, and this was our big break, and it was going to be great fun. And there was a director in the audience in a Dublin show, a TG Cahir director, and said, hey, we're doing this drama show. You should have a part in it. It's in a performing arts school. And off the back of that, this Dublin radio station, Spin, said, oh, will you do a little Irish language show for us? So I was doing 1 hour a week on a radio station in Dublin. And this guy heard it. I was doing some cover work in English then, and goes, I want you to come to London to work for this radio station called XFM. Now, XFM, if anybody is into radio, it's where, very famously, like Carl Pilkington met Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant. He was like the T-boy in XFM, and then Idiot Abroad happened, and Russell Brand was there, and Dermot O'Leary, and Jimmy Carr, and all these great people, and I'm the keepy-uppies kid, and I'm like, I am now, this is my station, this is amazing, and I'm in London, and it's all brilliant. My family's healthy, I have this beautiful girlfriend, she's a doctor, like, this is, oh, go life. And then my girlfriend dumped me because she had moved to Glasgow to pursue her medical career, and I was in London, and the geography wasn't quite working, and she was so busy with her studies, and I was busy. But I kind of thought, we'll make it, and romance. And then I realized at that point I'd never been emotionally tested in my life. And I've looked at the brochure for here today, and there's the High Hopes Choir, and I saw the show on telly, if any of you've seen it. And some people have really harrowing stories, and I don't have that. I don't have a terrible story. I have a really great career and family were healthy, and I was in London. And my girlfriend just dumped me. But in my head, we've been together for so many years, and I said, we're going to get married, we're going to have a family, we're going to settle down. And so who I was intrinsically linked to who she was and who we were together as an entity. And so I just had never had to navigate any tumultuous emotional waters. And this was the first time, and I just couldn't do it. And I'd landed in London, and I was disorientated, and I didn't really care all of a sudden about this brilliant job that I had. But in my head, like I said, people have real problems, and they can't pay their mortgage, or they're being kicked out of their house, or whatever it is. And my problem wasn't worthy of discussion. It was so, just cop on, Owen, and you're being a wussy and sort yourself out. But all of a sudden, I was too embarrassed to talk to anybody. And what was this amazing opportunity in London, light switch just turned into, oh shit, I'm alone, sorry, God, in this big city, and I don't really know anybody, and I've no one to talk to, and I feel like an idiot because I'm squandering this opportunity, and I remember the first big gig I got on this station. I was flown to Los Angeles. I was in London 3 months to interview the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Sit down for an hour, and I don't know if anyone's a Red Hot Chili Peppers fan, but I had read Anthony Kiedis' autobiography. He's one of the greatest rock and roll stories of all time. This is amazing. And I landed in LA, and I'd had a bit of back and forth with the ex-girlfriend, and I went out the night before the big interview. I got rollickingly drunk by myself, woke up the next morning, got sick everywhere. Yeah, I know. Did the interview, it was a terrible interview. It was just because of headache and hungover. Came back, it was supposed to be an hour-long chat. It was edited down. They turned it into I'd say probably about 7 or 8 minutes of talk with loads of Chili Peppers songs. And I think if my boss hadn't really liked me, or we hadn't kind of developed a personal friendship, he would have fired me. That would have been game over. Get out of here, see you later. And so like I said, this incredible opportunity just flittered away. And then like I said, was so embarrassed, and it compounded itself down, and I needed some manner of release for this, little storm I was in, and I started self-harming. And then and that happened for maybe a few weeks or months, and then I had to take stock of myself and go, what the hell is going on? This is not where anybody needs to be, and this is not an insurmountable problem. People do bigger stuff than this every single day, deal with bigger stuff. And it was only for the intervention of a peripheral stranger by accident who was having, funnily enough, a tough time with his fiancée because they lived in different countries. He was in a band, and I interviewed them one day, and we just went for a pint after the interview. And we just happened across this conversation, and it was just as quickly as I had crushed down on my shoulders, it just, it lifted like clouds dispersing or whatever. Just from this conversation with this guy, and he was like, oh yeah, I know how you feel. And I hadn't told him anything about my own, self-harming or anything like that. But just for him to go, oh man, I hear where you're at. I can relate, I can sympathize. And after that, I went and did see a person, not for very long, just saw a counselor, and we rationalized what had happened, and it was all okay. And I did a little YouTube confessional video. I was asked to do some work with PA the House, just be an ambassador for them, only because I was doing the voice, and if they can get anyone on the telly, maybe they'll get a photo in the paper. It's all little small victories like that. So I said, it'd be disingenuous to be part of the amazing stuff they do and see people share their stories without sharing mine. So I put a little YouTube confessional online, and it got a bit of traction or whatever. And of course, like, people generally, for any of those admissions from any kind of person, are very generous with their commentary, and oh, well done, you're so brave, and high five, and that's all very nice. But the thing that floored me was with the kids, mostly teenagers, started writing to me. And there was one girl in particular who I wrote back and forth with for quite a while, and she was from Meath, and she was 14, and she said, Owen, I was gonna kill myself, and then I saw your YouTube video. And I say this not as a pat on the back for me, because these kind of interventions happen every day in every country by unsung heroes who do incredible work. But that was the pay it forward moment of when this singer guy said to me, I can sympathize. And then I said my bit, and this girl said, oh, well, if he's saying he's been a bad place and he's okay, then I can be okay. And I hope when she has gotten through her stuff, because she's faced it very bravely, that one day she'll be in this situation to go to someone, hey, you know what, it's okay. And it'll become this big pay it forward ripple effect. But I do remember when I was not in a good place, I would just focus on the bad things. You know, London's a terrible city, or I'm a terrible person, or this is a terrible day because and everything was bad. This food is crap, it's too expensive. Everything was bad. So I guess my hope for us moving forward in how we think about mental health and how we talk about mental health is, one, that we'll pay it forward if that opportunity ever presents itself, and two, that we'll define ourselves by the things that we like and the things that are good, in opposed to the things that we don't like or the things that are bad. Thank you.